The Roman Ninth Legion. The Ninth Roman Legion, also known as Legio IX Hispana, was one of Rome's elite regiments. The force numbered over 5,400 soldiers and spent a century waging wars and quelling rebellions in the empire's outlying regions. However, this formidable military powerhouse vanished from public records after 108 AD. What happened to the Ninth Legion? When Julius Caesar became governor of Cisalpine Gaul around 58 to 59 BC, he amassed 6 legions of troops. Caesar sent these troops in a fierce assault against the inhabitants. One of these units was the Ninth Legion, which rose to prominence over the next few decades. The Ninth Legion became Rome's go-to force in major battles and to quell rebellions. They participated in the Gallic Wars, the Cantabrian Wars, the battles of Dyrrhachium, Pharsalus, and Actium, as well as the Roman invasion of Britain in 43 AD. Despite their competence, their time in Britain was not without incident. In 61 AD, they suffered a devastating defeat at the Battle of Camulodunum, commonly known as the Ninth Legion Massacre. Celtic warriors, led by the terrible Iceni queen Boudicca, slaughtered approximately 2,000 legionnaires. However, the survivors fled, recovered, and joined other troops stationed in Germany. They continued to labor in York and Caledonia. Historical records abruptly halt in 108 AD. An inscription on a gate unearthed in York honored Emperor Trajan. The Emperor Caesar Nerva Trajan Augustus built this gate by the agency of the Ninth Legion Hispana. This is the Ninth Legion's last written record. One long-held theory is that the Celts destroyed the Ninth Legion. A British author, Rosemary Sutcliffe, experimented with this premise in her best-selling novel The Eagle. In this novel and subsequent film, the Ninth fell victim to the wilderness and native enmity outside Hadrian's Wall. Despite many confrontations between the Romans and Celts, no corroborating physical evidence ever emerged. The single shred of evidence comes from a hazy communication between an old historian named Fronto and Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Their letters described the Celtic army's strength and the number of Roman soldiers killed. Mommsen estimated the Ninth's destruction to be around 118 AD. Reverend J.G. Joyce discovered a 15-centimeter high Roman metal eagle at Silchester in 1866. It dates back to the 1st or 2nd century AD and may have been affixed to a bigger project, such as a statue, or carried in procession during battles or formal events. These eagles, known as aquila, were an important symbol of the Roman Empire. Some researchers believe this could be the Ninth Legion's lost eagle. Some scholarship argues that the Ninth's demise prompted the construction of Hadrian's Wall in 122 AD. However, this is sheer guesswork. Archaeological evidence dating back to 80 to 105 AD indicates that the Ninth Legion may have relocated to what is now the Netherlands. A 1959 excavation near Nijmegen discovered titles and an altar with the inscriptions Ninth Legion and Vex Brit. This inspired some historians to propose a move from Britain to the Netherlands. Transfers were extremely prevalent. Furthermore, some historians note that the Legion was briefly absent in 105 AD. Other researchers suggest that the Ninth was active until 162 AD. The evidence, like that for the other theories, is scant. An ancient historian, Cassius Dio, reported that the Parthians decimated a nameless legion in Algeria. Proponents of this notion further refer to Marcus Aurelius's erection of 2 columns bearing the names of each Roman legion, with the Ninth Legion conspicuously lacking. This might signify 2 things. Either the legion was wiped out or disgraced through mutiny, betrayal, or desertion. Deciphering old historical records can be difficult, but the Ninth Legion most certainly died while fighting. While desertions and mutinies did occur, the Ninth was unlikely to commit such treason given its deadly reputation and long history. Lost Army of Campuses. The huge Sahara, with its raging sandstorms and searing heat, has taken numerous lives. Typically, these individuals or small caravans deviate from the camel routes that go through the region. However, only once in recorded history has the desert devoured a whole army. In 525 BC, Cambyses II, a formidable king of the Persian Empire, turned his attention to Egypt. With his mighty army under his command, he quickly captured the ancient Pharaonic realm. A year later, in 524 BC, Cambyses sent a 50,000-strong army from Thebes into the desert to attack the oasis of Siwa, which housed the Oracle of Amun. This oracle, venerated by the Egyptians, had refused to validate Cambyses' authority over Egypt, provoking him to strive to crush this rebellion. According to the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, before the army reached Siwa, a violent southerly wind created a tremendous sandstorm that swallowed them. Not a single person escaped. Several expeditions, particularly in the 20th century, have attempted to locate the remains of the lost army of Cambyses, but have been unsuccessful. After several futile research attempts, some Egyptologists concluded that the narrative is, in reality, apocryphal. However, this was not the end of it. In 2000, while exploring for petroleum deposits, an Egyptian geological team discovered antiquities buried in the sand. These included metal parts like weapons, textile remnants, most likely from clothes, and human remains. An investigation was launched, but no new information emerged. In 2009, two documentary filmmakers claimed to have unearthed evidence of the lost army, including bronze weaponry, jewels, and human remains. However, their conclusions were deemed untrustworthy since they did not receive approval from the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities and declined to disclose their findings for examination in scholarly journals. A Dutch archaeologist has proposed that one cannot perish in a sandstorm, implying that the army did not vanish but was attacked by Egyptian revolutionaries. Cambyses' successor, Darius the Great, then made up the sandstorm account for Herodotus to recount to erase his opponent from history. Whether it was insurgents or a sandstorm, Cambyses managed to seize control of nearly all of Egypt. Archaeologists and Egyptologists have yet to agree on the fate of the Persian army. Therefore, the mystery of the lost army of Cambyses remains unexplained. The vanished fleet of Kublai Khan. In the 13th century, Genghis Khan's grandson Kublai Khan had already conquered most of China and planned to expand his Mongolian kingdom. He assembled a massive force of Chinese and Korean ships to invade Kyushu, the southernmost of the four main Japanese islands. It was one of the world's largest armadas ever, with around 140,000 sailors. Kublai did, however, send his overwhelming forces over the Korea Strait twice, in 1274 and 1281, and his navy vanished both times. According to legend, Khan's ships were sunk after an emperor conjured two tremendous storms known as kamikazes. Aside from the question of whether the storms were divinely planned, the problem with this account is that violent typhoons are extremely uncommon in the attacked region of western Japan. Historians typically give more credit to the Japanese troops that defended their homeland. Scholars also point out that the current popularization of the kamikaze tale, in which an emperor summons divine winds to protect Japan, contains elements of propaganda. In the final hours of World War II, Emperor Hirohito reintroduced the story, calling on Japanese pilots to become his heavenly winds and defend their homeland by crashing into Allied forces. Japan researchers discovered sediments beneath lake bottoms near the coast that indicate typhoons were more common in western Japan half a millennium ago than they are now. Two sediment layers could have been set down by the same typhoons that inspired the kamikaze mythology. Because sediments buried beneath lakes frequently contain storm-washed debris, geologists can utilize them to reconstruct previous weather. Some of the old layers that Woodruff's team excavated from beneath Lake Daija, near Kyushu's shore, included exceptionally significant volumes of clastics, ground-up rocks, and the metal strontium. Typhoons are believed to have washed in enormous volumes of sand and pulverized shells from the shore. The researchers discovered deposits rich in clastics and titanium at another lake on Kyushu's western coast, which were most likely scraped off the bottom of a nearby river by typhoons. And not just any typhoon. Carbon samples dated in sediment layers linked with the two major storms indicate that they happened at the appropriate time to be the mythical storms that saved Japan. However, there is enough uncertainty in those carbon dates to raise doubts. A samurai wrote a narrative of the first battle at Hakata Bay in 1274 for posterity, yet he makes no mention of a typhoon, simply a shift in wind direction that helped the Japanese win. Therefore, what happened to Kublai Khan's navy remains a mystery. The Expedition of Mansa Musa. The expedition of Mansa Musa's forefather, before Columbus set sail for the New World and even before the Vikings landed on North American shores, was a West African Mansa, or king, who aspired to explore the huge Atlantic Ocean. His identity is debatable, but his goal was clear: discovering what lay beyond the horizon. During his visit to Mecca in 1324, Mansa Musa, the 9th king of Mali in the 14th century, told the story of this voyage. While in Cairo, he spoke about an unidentified predecessor who sent a massive fleet across the Atlantic. Ala Maria, a North African historian, later documented this event. In the early 14th century, the Mali Empire was one of the rich Sahelian kingdoms that grew as a result of trans-Saharan commerce. Mali was once a hotbed of scholarship, culture, and luxury, with Timbuktu serving as a renowned knowledge center. Mansa Musa's predecessor, dissatisfied with the scope of his reign, wanted to broaden his knowledge and lands. He felt that the Atlantic Ocean was not an unending body of water, but rather connected to other lands. According to historical accounts, the adventurous trip began with an original fleet of 200 ships. The mission, laden with gold and provisions, carried a large number of sailors, academics, and artists to explore the lands they imagined were beyond the ocean. However, the ships, which communicated using drums, faced a storm. The majority are thought to have sailed on. Those that returned on that lone ship warned of a dangerous journey, but the Mansa did not trust them. Undeterred, the monarch commissioned a larger fleet of 2,000 ships and promised to personally lead the expedition, leaving his realm and wealth to his successor, Mansa Musa. Although it is unclear whether the Second Fleet reached the Americas, agricultural evidence discovered in Brazil implies that a trading route between the Old and New Worlds may have been formed. Furthermore, logbooks from Columbus's third expedition to the Americas suggest that one of his tasks was to test allegations that Mali gold and weaponry had been discovered in the Caribbean island of Hispaniola. The real identity and ancestry of the fleet's leader are unknown, and many historians simply refer to him as the predecessor of Mansa Musa. The mystery of this, like that of previous disappeared armies, highlights the fact that there is no safety when Mother Nature is involved. Lost Legion of Crassus. At the start of the 1st century, the Roman Empire was one of the most formidable forces on the planet, thanks to its massive army, superior organization, and pioneering engineering innovations. However, the Romans did not conquer the entire world, but their impact affected many nations and cultures. Until recently, China was not thought to be one of these, but it now appears that ancient Far Eastern nations may have encountered the relentless Roman military machine. The First Battle of Carrhae took place in 53 BC. Marcus Crassus, Rome's wealthiest man, led 7 legions of heavy soldiers against the Parthian Empire in an attempt to expand Roman territory. The Roman force was enticed into the desert near the ancient town of Carrhae in modern-day Turkey, where they became vulnerable. The Parthian general Serenus and his 10,000 horsemen bombarded, tired, and eventually defeated the Roman army, which numbered over 40,000. Crassus, humiliated, was assassinated while attempting to broker a truce. According to several versions of the narrative, he was either beheaded and his body desecrated, or molten gold was poured down his throat as a sign of his insatiable desire for riches. 10,000 Romans were taken and sent to the Far East to locate Parthian opponents. 17 years later, a detachment of these warriors appeared to have taken part in the Battle of Zizi between the Chinese and the Xiongnu nomadic steppe tribe, where they were reportedly hired as mercenaries. Ancient Chinese histories from the Han Dynasty described a troop of tall, fair-skinned soldiers fighting in a fish-scale formation. which is startlingly similar to the Roman testudo or tortoise formation. After a conflict, the Chinese apprehended these guys and eventually settled in a region called Lichang, which sounds very similar to legion. Modern genetic testing of villages in China has indicated that approximately 56% of their genetic makeup is of Caucasian origin, with blue eyes, Roman noses, and occasionally even fair hair, features that are uncommon among Chinese. These folks may be descendants of Cras's lost legion. Supporting this notion, a putative Roman helmet inscribed with one of the surrendered was discovered in the same village. If you made it this far into the video, subscribe if you haven't, and embark on a journey to uncover the most enigmatic and awe-inspiring mysteries of ancient times. Leave a comment if there are any ancient mysteries you want us to explore in upcoming videos.